I'm Nicholas. I'll be playing Lavinia.
I'm Hyun. I'll be playing the bad Christine.
I'm Thomas, and I'll be playing the good Christine.
Poor father.
Really? This must be pretty important if you had to waken me while I was resting.
I told you I had to talk to you.
But why in this musty room, dear?
Because it's father's room.
More mystery?
We have to talk.
Do explain, Vinny.
I suppose Annie told you that I visited Hazel and Peter while you were away.
Yes, I thought it strange. You never visit anyone overnight. Why'd you take that notion?
I didn't.
You didn't? You didn't visit them?
No.
Then where did you go?
To New York! I've suspected something lately. The excuses you've made for all your trips last year, that grandfather was sick. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I know he has been, and you've stayed at his house. Mm-hmm. But I've suspected lately that wasn't the real reason. And now I can prove it isn't. Because I waited outside grandfather's house, and I followed you. I saw you meet Bran.
Well, what if you did? I told you myself I ran into him by accident.
You went into his room.
He asked me to meet a friend. He's his lady. It was her house we went to.
I asked the woman in the basement. He hired the room under another name, but she recognized his description, and yours too. She said you had come there often in the past year.
It was the first time I've ever been there. He insisted on my going. He said he had to talk to me about you. He wanted me to approach your father.
How can you lie like that? How can you be so vile as to try to hide your adultery?
Vinny!
Your adultery, I said.
No!
Stop lying, I tell you. I went upstairs. I heard you saying to him, "I love you, Adam." And kissing him. You... vile. You're shameless and evil. Even if you are my mother, I say it.
I knew you hated me, Vinny. But not as bitterly as that. Very well. I love Adam Brent. What are you going to do?
How you say that name without any shame? You don't give one thought to Father, who is so good, who trusts you. Oh, how could you do this to Father? How could you?
You would understand if you were the wife of a man you hated.
Don't. Don't say that before him. I won't listen.
You will listen. I'm talking to you as a woman now, not as a mother to daughter.
Stop telling me such things. Let me go. So you've always hated Father?
No, I loved him once, before I married him. Incredible as that seems now. He was handsome, in his lieutenant's uniform. He was silent, mysterious, and romantic. But marriage soon turned his romance into disgust.
So I was born of your disgust. I've always guessed that, Mother, ever since I was little. When I used to come to you with love, but you would always push me away. I felt it ever since I can remember, your disgust. Oh, I hate you. It's only right I should hate you.
I tried to love you. I told myself it wasn't human not to love my own child, born of my body. But I never could make myself feel you were born of anybody but his. You were always my wedding night to me, and my honeymoon.
Stop saying that. How can you be so... You've loved Oren. Why didn't you hate him too?
Because by then, I had forced myself to become resigned in order to live. And most of the time I was carrying him, your father was with the army in Mexico. I had forgotten him. And when Oren was born, he seemed my child, only mine, and I loved him for that. I loved him until he let you and your father nag him into the war, in spite of my begging him not to leave the house. I know his leaving me was your doing principally, Vinny.
It was his duty as a man to go. He'd have been sorry the rest of his life if he hadn't. I love him better than you. I was thinking of him.
Well, I hope you realize that I would have fallen in love with Adam if I had Oren with me. When he had gone, there was nothing left but hate and desire to be revenged, and a longing for love. And it was then I met Adam. I saw he loved me.
He doesn't love you. You're only his revenge on father. Do you know who he really is? He's the son of that low nurse grandfather put out of our house.
So, you found that out. Were you hoping it would be a crushing surprise to me? I've known it all along. He told me it when he said he loved me.
Oh, and I suppose knowing who he was gave you all the more satisfaction to add that disgrace.
Will you kindly come to the point and tell me what you intend in doing? I suppose you'll hardly let your father go. Get in the door before you tell him.
No, not unless you force me to. I don't wonder you're surprised. You know you deserve the worst punishment you could get. And father would disown you publicly, no matter how much the scandal cost him.
I realize that. I know him even better than you do.
And I'd like to see you punished for your wickedness. So please understand this isn't for your sake. It's for father's. He hasn't been well lately. I'm not going to have him hurt. It's my first duty to protect him from you.
I know better than to expect any generosity on my account.
I won't tell him, provided you give up Bran and never see him again, and promise to be a dutiful wife to father and make up for the wrong you've done him.
What a fraud you are, with your talks of your father and your duty. Oh, I'm not denying you want to save his pride, and I know how anxious you are to keep the family from more scandal, but all the same, that's not your real person for sparing me.
It is.
You wanted Adam Brandt yourself.
That's a lie.
And now you know you can't have him. You're determined that at least you'll make him from me.
No.
But if you told your father I'd have to go away with Adam, he'd still be mine. You can't bear that thought, even at the price of my disgrace, can you?
It's your evil mind.
I know you, Vinny. I've watched you ever since you were little, trying to do exactly what you're doing now. You tried to become the wife of your father and the mother of Oren. You've always schemed to steal my place.
No. It's you who have stolen all love from me since the time I was born. But I don't want to listen to any more of your lies and excuses. I want to know right now whether you're going to do what I told you or not.
Suppose I refuse. Suppose I go off openly with Adam. Where will you and your father and the family name be after that scandal? And what if I were to disgrace myself? I'd have the man I love at least.
Not for long. Father would use all his influence and get Brandt blacklisted so he'd lose his command and never get another. You know how much the flying trades means to him. And father would never divorce you. You could never marry. You'd be an anchor around his neck. Don't forget, you're 5 years older than he is. He'd still be in his prime. When you're an old woman with all your looks gone, he'd grow to hate the sight of you.
What? You devil, you mean little...
I wouldn't call names if I were you. There's one you deserve.